We have a great matchup as we have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Houston Texans in Houston. This is your Week 5 2024 prediction and preview video. Hit subscribe if you're new. Also hit the like button. This is the battle of two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Josh Allen going against CJ. But let's talk about the home team, the Houston Texans. Last week, they got a very crucial win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The reason why it was crucial, they keep the Jacksonville Jaguars into a situation to where they're winless. And they also went out there and that was their second division game that they won. They defeated the Indianapolis Colts in week 1. And now they just went out there and defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. Right now they have a strong chokehold on this division. But we have a lot of football to play moving forward. But last week was a very good week. CJ was able to go out there and do things like how he always does. This was great to see coming off that tough loss against the Minnesota Vikings. They won the game 24-20. For context here, the reason why the Jacksonville Jaguars had 20 points and had a touchdown, it was a muff punt for the return team with the Houston Texans. You want to clean that up in this game against the Buffalo Bills. You do not want to give Josh Allen and that offense more opportunities than they're already going to have. But when I look at the offense of the Houston Texans, they've been in a bit of a weird situation. The passing game, we know that it's going to be elite because of CJ Stephon Diggs, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and Nico Collins. But the rushing attack without Joe Mixon hasn't been the same. And Joe Mixon is expected to miss this game, and also Dameon Pierce as well. Now, you do have Cam Akers. Last week, he had 53 rushing yards, and he averaged 4 yards a carry. He did have a long run that went for 15 yards. This is my one thing with the Houston Texans. In order to beat a team like the Buffalo Bills, you're going to have to run the football and target the middle of the field with Nico Collins. Nico Collins right now leads the league in receiving yards because the way that Bobby Slowick is moving him around. And he is benefiting a lot from playing alongside Stephon Diggs. But at the same time, Nico Collins was a top wide receiver last season for the Houston Texans. They can put him inside the slot. They can put him on the left or the right side of the field. They're going to target him a lot in this game. And I would be careful doing that because the Buffalo Bills secondary is very good, but you have very good weapons with Nico Collins and also Stephon Diggs as well. And be on lookout for Dalton Schultz. Tank Dell is questionable for this game. He's dealing with a chest injury. Hopefully he can play. You want to target the linebackers for the Buffalo Bills. And why would you want to do this? Even though the linebackers, in my opinion, are very good, they're thin at that position because of all the injuries. And look at what happened last week against the Baltimore Ravens. They were having a lot of tough time stopping the run and also stopping the passes underneath as well. And when you go against an offense like Bobby Slowick, he comes to that Kyle Shanahan tree. He's going to go out there and try to get mismatches going across the middle of the field, crossing routes with Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins as well. And we know that CJ is not going to force anyone the football. The reason why Nico Collins has all the targets and has all the receptions is because he's always open. And if you are the Buffalo Bills, you want to take note of that. But they have to be able to go out there and consistently run the football. And it comes down to the offensive line as well. I'm not worried about CJ going out there and throwing 2 to 3 interceptions in this game because he is a quarterback that plays clean football games. The only bad game up to this point that he's played it in was against the Minnesota Vikings, and that was an off day for the Houston Texans, just like how last week was an off week for the Buffalo Bills. But in this game, you want to target the linebackers of the Bills because they're thin in that area of defense, and it's going to come down to the offensive line protection as well. Von Miller is suspended, but that doesn't mean anything because we know that Sean McDermott can draw up blitzes just like how the defensive coordinator and Brian Flores did with the Minnesota Vikings. So just take note of that. Stephon Diggs is going to want to go out there and get revenge against his former team of the Buffalo Bills, but he has to keep his emotions in check. Dumb down the penalties and do not have costly mistakes like how you had last week on special teams, and you should be able to score on this tough defense of the Buffalo Bills because up to last week, the Buffalo Bills was one of the best teams in the NFL, and they still are. When I look at the defense for the Houston Texans, they have to be careful here. They have James Cook to watch out for, but you want to get a lot of pressure on Josh Allen. You want to make sure that you just get pressure on him and make sure that you press up on those wide receivers and Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir. It's been a question all offseason long and even into the regular season. How will the wide receivers shape out for the Buffalo Bills against tougher defenses? Last week didn't look too good. They only had 12 first downs. And I look at the Houston Texans defense, they're not 100% healthy. Danico Autry is still dealing with suspension, but he's expected to come back in the next couple of weeks. But you look at the players that they have, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, the sack numbers are not there. But sometimes it's not about the sack numbers. It's about going back there and putting pressure on the quarterback. And they have done a good job of doing that. Look at what they did against Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence did look solid, but when the defense needed to step up, they did. I also look at it from this standpoint as well. Look at what they did to Caleb Williams a couple of weeks ago on Sunday night. Yes, a bad offensive line for the Chicago Bears, but DeMeco Ryans, he knows how to game plan for some of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. The reason why you want to get pressure on Josh Allen, he could single-handedly go out there and take over a game just like how CJ can. But the thing is with Josh Allen, he's one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the NFL. If you do not keep him in check, when you get pressure on him and he drifts out to the right, he can throw across his body. Pinpoint laser accuracy. He can throw it deep down the field to one of those weapons that he has at the tight end spot or at the wide receiving spot, and he can make the Houston Texans defense pay. It's going to come down to the secondary as well. When I look at Derek Stingley Jr., he has been good, but we need to see more consistency out of him, just like how he was good last season, especially when he came back from that hamstring injury. And I still think that Derek Stingley Jr. is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. Kamari is a rookie. Be on lookout for him, because even though the wide receivers with the Buffalo Bills are not established, they can still get behind some cornerbacks in the NFL. But the game plan here for the Houston Texans is to go out there, make tackles in space, watch out for Josh Allen and his ability to make plays behind the line of scrimmage, and press up on those wide receivers. Right now, the Buffalo Bills, they can't create much separation against some of the top cornerbacks in the NFL. So put body-on-body contact with guys like Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir as well, and you should be in a very good situation. But it's going to come down to that defensive pressure, and can they slow down Josh Allen as a whole, just like how the Baltimore Ravens did last week. Now, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. Like I mentioned before, I'm not going to go out here and overreact. The Houston Texans had a tough loss against the Minnesota Vikings, and they're still a pretty good team. When I look at the Buffalo Bills, last week was a terrible loss against the Baltimore Ravens, but that's okay. Those type of losses happen. You're not going to go undefeated and not lose a game in the regular season. But last week, we saw a lot of the weaknesses of the Buffalo Bills. They let big plays kill them early in the game. Derrick Henry's first touch went for a touchdown. Not only did he go for a touchdown, it went for 87 yards. The defense has to be better in this game. Stop the run with Cam Akers, and you have to go out there and take away Nico Collins, especially across the middle of the field. And I'm not saying go out there and double team him, don't worry about Stephon Diggs and Dalton Schultz, because you should. But when you have a defensive coordinator like Sean McDermott, he's going to go out there and he's going to find a way to get those guys to the right situations, because he's a great defensive head coach. When I look at Sean McDermott, he's going to have to find a way to go out there and generate pressure as a whole as well. Like I mentioned before, Von Miller is suspended for the next 4 games because of a policy conduct issue that was going on off the field. Von Miller has been a very good pass rusher. He's not a starter, but when he comes into the game, he's been a game wrecker. Last season, he did not record a sack in 12 games. This season, he's been very good, but you also have other defensive linemen as well, like Greg Rousseau, who can go back there and bring the quarterback down. He has 3 sacks on the season. Ed Oliver is questionable for this game, but he is expected to play in this game. When I look at a guy like Ed Oliver, very good at pushing the pocket and stopping the run. And you also look at AJ Epineza as well. He's not the same pass rusher as Von Miller, but he can go back there and put a lot of pressure on CJ. That's going to be very interesting to see how this defense looks without Von Miller, because for the first 3 weeks of the season, Von Miller was looking phenomenal. He was trying to turn that clock back to how he was playing with the Denver Broncos. When I look at the linebackers for the Buffalo Bills, they're just decimated at this position. Terrell Bernard is questionable to play in this game, and I hope that he can play, because we saw last week, all those injuries, it caught up to him. They could not stop the rushing attack of Lamar Jackson or even Derrick Henry. Now, when I look at the Houston Texans, they're not known for running the football, and they're dealing with injuries at the running back spot. And we know CJ has decent mobility, but he's not a Lamar Jackson. So you don't have to worry about keeping the quarterback in check, but you do have to worry about those wide receivers and those weapons on the outside. When I look at the cornerbacks for the Buffalo Bills, they're very good. Teron Johnson is a very good player. Rasul Douglas is a very good cornerback as well. They're going to have to be on their P's and Q's in this game. Do not let Nico Collins go out there and beat you over the top. And the same with the linebackers as well. You do not want to get into a situation to where Nico Collins is matched up on linebackers. We saw what happened in the first couple of games of the regular season. Bobby Slowick will use motion, and the next thing you know, it confuses the defense. and Nico Collins is one-on-one with a safety or a linebacker. You don't want to be in that situation. I expect for the Buffalo Bills to play a lot of man in this game, and they're going to try to go out there, and they're going to use a lot of tactics to try to confuse CJ and also try to get back at Stephon Diggs as well. This is a review. Now let's talk about the offense for the Buffalo Bills. They only scored 10 points last week, and when you look at Josh Allen, weren't bad numbers. 16 of 29 for 180 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And that's the thing with Josh Allen. He has yet to throw an interception this season. He did have a fumble against the Arizona Cardinals, but besides that, he has played very clean and efficient football. They have to continue to do that, but guys are going to have to step up on the outside. Keon Coleman has the potential to be a top wide receiver in the NFL. He had 51 receiving yards last week. Khalil Shakir had 62 receiving yards last week as well. It's going to come down to, can they beat that press coverage of the Houston Texans? And can the offensive line hold up long enough for those guys to get down the field and get open? Keon Coleman is very good in contested catches, but he's going to have to do a better job of getting separation. And I also look at guys like Dalton Kincaid, 47 receiving yards last week. They'll have to find a way to go out there and get him going as well, because in my opinion, he's the best receiving target that they have right now on a consistent basis. And you also look at Dawson Knox as well. They can run that 2 tight end system if they want to. Obviously, the offense is going to be ran through the legs and the arm of Josh Allen, but you also have James Cook as well. They got put into a situation last week against the Ravens to where the Ravens went down there, they scored fast, and they could not run the football. The reason why they have had so much success in the past this season is because they have been able to run the football with James Cook. James Cook only had 39 rushing yards last week. You do want to go out there and still run the football, but if you're down by a substantial lead, you're not going to be able to do that, because now the clock is against you. That's why it is so important for the defense to go out there and to get early stops. But when I look at the offense of the Bills last week, just like their defense, it was just a bad week. I think that Keon Coleman can go out there. He can have a very good game. I would not go out there and just test out the secondary per se of the Houston Texans, because they are good. Kamari has an interception on the season. You also have to be on the lookout for Derek Stingley Jr. as well, because we know that he can take away the football. He's very good in his own right. And be on the lookout for Jalen Petrie as well, a safety in that secondary for the Houston Texans. Has not recorded an interception, but he has been solid against the pass in the last couple of games. So it's going to come down to, can Josh Allen and James Cook put the superhero cape back on? Can they put the team on their back, and can they have better success? It's about rhythm and movement, and also making sure that you're staying on target. That's the biggest thing with the Buffalo Bills. You do not want to get to a situation to where it's 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 7. You want to be into a situation to where it's 3rd and manageable, to where you can run the football with James Cook, or you can go out there and run off a play action as well, and you can try to trick the defense of the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans, their defense has let up some big plays. And up to this point, they have not played a quarterback like Josh Allen. They've played quarterbacks like Caleb Williams, Anthony Richardson, Trevor Lawrence, and Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold went out there and he had a field day against the defense of the Houston Texans. In terms of top end talent, this is one of the best quarterbacks that they're going to see in this early window. With that being said, this is going to be a very close football game. I'm expecting a shootout, not like how the shootout happened last year when the Houston Texans went against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I do expect a shootout. I expect for the Houston Texans to go out there and play physical on the defensive end, and for CJ to go out there and do his thing, and the same with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills as well. With that being said, I do have the Houston Texans winning this game 31-27. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have winning this game, the Houston Texans or the Buffalo Bills? This is going to be a fun one. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.